In this video, I'm gonna walk through step by step exactly how, from start to finish, I apply a ceramic coating, from washing the car to preparing it, to polishing it, to actually applying the coating itself. What's going on? Glad you're here and welcome back to the Wilson Auto Detailing community. If you're a pro detailer or a car enthusiast and you're new here and you just love everything auto detailing, then definitely consider subscribing. So again, in this video, we're doing ceramic coatings. I wanna go ahead and get right into the content, but just for a little bit of context, the specific nano ceramic coating I'm applying here is from Nasiol. So I say Nasiol, it's a company that actually I've not found a lot of people are working with as far as their ceramics. Generally, we do like C-Quartz or Ceramic Pro. There's a bunch of them on the market that you can get that are more like retail available. And of course, you guys can check all of this out in the description box below. But again, this is a company called Nasiol. I've actually done several ceramic coatings from them, and I really like them because particularly of the durability. So for example, when ceramic coatings say they last, 2 to 5 to 7 years, I can tell you that this company actually does do that because I've used it and I've maintained vehicles that I've used these coatings on for 2, 3, 4 years. So I can at least speak to 4 years, right? But let's go ahead and just get into all of the preparation because it is going to take a little while before we actually apply this. So I'm applying it to this Toyota Prius here. So what I'm gonna do here is foam it. I'm just gonna walk you guys through the steps real fast. I'm going to foam it. I'm gonna rinse it off. I'm gonna foam it again. I'm gonna wash it with a hand mitt. And of course, I'll be spraying off my mitt between each application, so it's kind of just like a quicker version of the 2-bucket method. And then I'm gonna go ahead and clay it, strip it, and before we apply the ceramic coating, because I already kind of took care of the major imperfections in this paint, I'm gonna do a very quick pass with HD Car Care's Product 1. It's just a quick 1-step, and it's a really great correcting product. And so I'm gonna do a very, I guess what I would call a less intense correction job, because again, already corrected this paint. I just want to hit it with something that's going to remove anything, again, very quickly that might have fallen on it. You see, it's got like bird droppings, things like that. I'm gonna have to wash it a little bit aggressively and strip it. And so again, it's just before we apply that coating, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit it with the 1. Now I am going to go a little bit quicker as far as the correcting is concerned. I'm not gonna be sitting here for 5 hours, like I normally would be. I'm gonna, move faster with my DA and all that sort of stuff, again, because it just is not gonna require anything too intense. So let's go ahead and just foam it up. Now, just so you guys know, I am using a foam cannon from Max Shine. I'm gonna be testing it out, and I'm using their Purple Haze Snow Foam. Now, this says it's highly concentrated, pH balance. Let's see, maintains recently waxed vehicles, yada. So I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it. I filled it up probably about till there with water, and I'm just gonna pour some soap in here. With foam cannons, I tend not to be over dramatic about, the exact amount of soap that you're supposed to use. I'll just kind of eyeball it and not go crazy, but I do want to, fill it up at least a little bit. I'm also gonna drop a little dollop of degreaser in here because I want to kind of aggressively hit this paint with the washing process. So that ought to do. And then I'll throw a little degreaser in there and we'll go ahead and foam it. All right, so here's what it looks like now. You can see like the purple foam, and I threw a little secret degreaser that I cannot yet reveal. And let's go ahead and hit it. Okay, so the suds have been sitting for probably like 2.5 minutes-ish. So you guys can see they're all kind of pulling, that surface dirt off the paint. Now the reason I'm using a foam cannon here, I don't love foam cannons always, but there are certain applications where they do work very well. And because this car was very recently maintained, recently protected and polished, the foam cannon is gonna do a good job at pulling off the surface dirt. So again, I wouldn't use this if I was, dealing with a 10-year-old car that's never maintained, but in this case it does work very well. So I'm gonna go ahead and wash it off with water. I'm gonna foam the entire car again, and then I'm just going to use my wash mitt and a wash bucket, and I'm gonna be using a sort of 2-bucket wash method with working in the foam on the paint and rinsing off that dirt in a bucket that is full of water. So it's just kind of like a quicker 2-bucket logic, if you're kind of getting what I'm saying there. But on another note, the Max Shine foam cannon and the Max Shine snow foam really did a fantastic job at creating a ton of thick foam. So you guys got to see that firsthand. All right, real fast, I just want to take you around the car before we move on so you can see what the Max Shine foam cannon did, as well as their snow purple haze foam. And I threw in a little secret degreaser, like I said, which I will be releasing at some point in the near future. I just literally cannot right now. But you guys can see the paint looks fantastic. Again, this is just first stage here. Rinsed it, foamed it, let the foam sit for a second, rinsed it again, foamed it again, filled up a bucket of water so I could wash my mitt between panels so as to minimize scratching as much as I can. And now we're gonna go ahead and clay it. But again, you guys see, you kind of see what I'm talking about with the sun hitting it. There's not like a bunch of swirls or anything like that, again, because it was corrected very recently. So I'm just gonna do a quick thing, but that's what it looks like after the foam cannon. So definitely big thumbs up. So I'm gonna go ahead and clay it with my ONR solution clay bar, and then we'll pull it into the garage and go from there. Okay, so the vehicle is clay barred now. Generally speaking, you don't always have to do this, okay? I'm using an iron fallout remover by Americana Global. It's called Release. All right, this is their iron. It's like an Iron X product, right? A lot of detailing companies have their own version of it. But again, Iron X is just gonna strip any embedded contaminants into the clear coat that the clay bar could not get. This is a kind of a chemical decontaminant, and it ends up generally turning iron particles purple as it pulls it off the paint, so you get a little cool visual aspect. But when you're applying a ceramic coating, you have to use a chemical decontaminant. You not only have to clay bar it, you have to use a chemical decontaminant. You've got to take seriously the preparation stage. A lot of guys will message me and say that their ceramic coating didn't turn out like they wanted it to, and the fact of it is, if you do not take the preparation stage crazy serious, you will get terrible results whether you mean to or not. And so I'm just taking every precaution possible. Again, I'm going to polish after this, but let's go ahead and spray the Americana Global Release release iron and fallout remover all over the car paint. Again, it says not to apply it in hot temperatures or on hot paint. Again, I've been doing this long enough to know that that's not necessarily true. You can do it in a certain way and do it a little bit quicker than normal, that you're gonna get good results. It's not gonna hurt anything. I'm gonna wet the paint just a tiny bit before I actually apply it. Number one, it'll cool the surface down just a tad bit. And number two, it kind of helps me move the product around. I'm gonna agitate it very slightly with a microfiber towel. So I'm gonna mist the paint just real quick, spray this all over the windows, paints, rims, all of it, and agitate with a microfiber towel real fast all over the car. Again, this is not that detailed. This is just kind of a general wiping it around the paint and the windows. Hose it off, quickly dry the paint. And I'm actually using very soft water here. This house in particular has very soft water, so even if I left the water on the paint, I wouldn't get any sort of bad water spots whatsoever. So let's go ahead and hit it with the release. Okay, a couple of quick notes real fast. This is actually the best smelling iron remover I've ever used. Generally, Iron X or like these more intense iron removers, not intense, just iron removers in general, have this awful smell. And this definitely has a strong smell that's very similar to what everybody else's is. But this is gonna sound weird, but it smells like Tootsie Rolls. So let's go ahead and check out what the car looks like now that it's dry and I use the iron remover on it. So this is a car that's totally prepared for polishing, okay? Now again, I'm gonna be doing a very minimal polishing job, taking care of any surface scratches, tiny, small etchings, and all that stuff. But from this point, at this point, we have foamed it, rinsed it, foamed it, physically agitated it, clayed it, and used an iron remover and an iron fallout remover. Again, that's gonna take care of any like rail dust or just industrial fallout that gets on the paint. And cool bumper sticker, right? Cool Prius said nobody. Okay, so car is in the garage, and I just want to show you guys real fast the original, or the condition of the paint right here, because I kind of want to emphasize the point. This paint is not in bad condition at all. There are a few random isolated deep scratches, right, that are not going to come out with any finishing polish or anything like that. However, again, I used the product 1 from 3D Car Care on this car like 7 to 10 days ago, and then protected it, and I just didn't have time to put the ceramic on it then. So now I'm doing that, and I just want to show you kind of the condition here and see if I can get a good angle here. So I'm using the Buff Bright light. There's a flamethrower. It's really good at finding swirls, but you guys can see if you look at the halo of the light, that's where you're going to be able to see there's some water streaks. Those are where you're going to be able to see the scratches, and you see there aren't any. Like there really are no swirls. Now, the camera can tend to either over flatter or under flatter paint, just depending on the condition, the situation, all that sort of stuff. So I'm showing you the hood. Now there's a ton of chips in the hood, okay? So don't look at the chips, but here we go on the hood. Again, you guys cannot see really any scratching in this, but I can see it in person, and so I just want to hit it real fast. Again, not real fast, but I do want to hit it with a little bit of polish. So I'm just giving you a little bit more kind of angles here. All right. So yeah, really good condition paint. Number 1, I'm gonna be using 3D Car Care's 1. Again, this is their hybrid cut, compound, and polish. I'm using my Max Shine M15 Pro dual action polisher, so it's a 15mm throw. It's got a platypus head. It's one of my favorite polishers that I own. It's about 200 bucks. I'm using an Americana Global black finishing pad. So this is they have a red one that's their ultra finishing pad. This is just their finishing, polishing 5-inch foam pad right here. The reason I'm using this product is because when you couple this product with a finishing pad, it works just like a very I would say non-aggressive finishing polish, okay? So I could just use a finishing polish, but again, because I'm just pushing this, and trying to just get to know it at every level, I'm gonna continue using this. And so, again, using my 5-inch backing plate, my 5-inch Americana Global black foam finishing pad. Now, as I polish the car, and I'm gonna do it very quickly. I say very quickly, I just mean quicker than I normally would. I'm gonna stop and give you guys little nuggets of detailing wisdom as I do this, but just so you know, I am, just for context, I'm gonna be using the polisher at around a 4 to 5 speed setting. That is generally faster than I would normally do it. Again, because I'm not doing any sort of high level of correction. If anything, I'm just doing slight paint enhancement before I put a ceramic coating on because it's already been corrected. I'm not trying to go super slow or be incredibly patient, but again, in this case, just doing paint enhancement. Probably keep it on around 4.5, and I'm just gonna be fairly quick with the dual action polisher. I'm not gonna remove this when I get done with the panel, so I'll do, you know, half the hood, the other half the hood, you know, part of the door. As I go, I'm just gonna leave the polish on there, and I'll go and remove all of it at the very end. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so I'm breaking out my 3-inch DA here. Again, this is Max Shine's 3-inch DA. It's got a 3-inch backing plate. I'm using the same exact foam pad from Americana Global, their black foam finishing pad, but this is just their 3-inch version of it. And nothing's changing except, again, the size of the polisher, just so I can get in these areas that are a little bit slimmer and thinner, and I can get down here. This just lets me be a little bit more accurate, a little bit better work, and yeah, paint correction is probably my favorite part of detailing, so I make sure that I have the right equipment when I do it. So, here we go. Okay, so now paint is polished, and again, I did it fairly quickly because it was already corrected. I just wanted to kind of touch it up a little bit. Now, I'm using a paint stripper. I'm gonna go take off all the polish from any cracks that it might be, and I didn't tape it off because with the DA and with the polish I was using, it really doesn't sling, and so anything in there will be very, very minimal. I'm using a completely new microfiber towel. After you polish, use a new microfiber towel. Don't use one that's used or washed. Again, there might be something in it. You might not know. You might be putting swirls and imperfections back in it, and you just did this really hard paint correction job, so I just encourage you to use a new one. This is a laser cut, edgeless towel. It's just a plush microfiber towel, really soft, from Max Shine. This paint stripper is called Stripper, and it's from Americana Global. No, I'm not sponsored by all these companies. Yes, I do work with Max Shine, but again, I just name all these products and I name all these companies so that if you guys want to get one of these, you can find them, all right? Sometimes people don't name what they're using, and especially when I was starting in the detailing world, I didn't know what to use because nobody would show where to get it, and so that's why I say all this, not because I'm getting paid, okay? Just for anybody who was wondering. And again, I'm just gonna spray pretty minimal amount of the stripper onto it, and you could pull the polish off before you use the paint stripper if you wanted to. I'm kind of doing 2 in 1 because I'm gonna have to use a stripper before I apply the ceramic coating anyway, and so I'm gonna use the stripper to make pulling the polish off a little bit easier, and at the same time I'm stripping any oils or anything that even the polish left over on the paint, because again, this paint has to be bare completely before any coating is touching it for obvious reasons. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and do this around the entire car and pull off all the polish. All right guys, so the polish is stripped off the paint, and so not only did I use the stripper, the paint stripper, to pull the polish off, make it a little bit easier, I also went around a second time to simply spray the stripper on the bare paint and kind of work it in and buff it off with my yellow microfiber towel right here. And then I went around even a third time and just made sure all those trace little marks from the stripper itself were gone. Now what I want to do is show you guys the paint under the light, just so we can kind of see what kind of condition we're looking at here. So you see there are no swirls left, but there are definitely some rock chips, some paint imperfections, different things. I'm gonna inspect it a little bit even as I'm using the camera here. Again, like you guys see, the paint condition is virtually, kind of as perfect as it's gonna be. Now you might see some what kind of looks like holograms, and it's not holograms, it's just little places where the paint stripper and the polish, I didn't wipe it off well enough, and so I'm gonna go around again with the light before I apply the ceramic. So if you look kind of in the far part, outer part of the halo of the light, you might see a little bit of that. But apart from that, like, there's no swirls, right? You can see paint looks really, really good. I'll go around to this side as well, so we can look at it from over here. Really good condition. And this is what you want. Now if you're, ceramic, if you're putting a ceramic on a Lamborghini, it's not gonna have a ton of imperfections like this one did. But again, this is a daily driver car that I'm putting this coating on, and so this is what I want, this kind of condition, because you're sealing in anything that's left on the paint. So you gotta make sure that it's just totally fixed. So that is what that looks like. Okay, so now this paint is totally stripped, totally prepared. I went around with my little Buff Bright light just one more time to look at every part of the paint surface to see if anything was left, any drip mark, any chemical kind of residue from the paint stripper. All of that is totally gone. It's ready to be coated, all right? So I hope you guys are getting kind of the intensity of this process. Again, the preparation work is everything, okay? Now, I don't have the best lighting in this garage, but luckily I've applied this coating actually a lot of different times, so I know how it works and know what to do. Basically, here's what I'm gonna do. Number one, the coating kit, or the package comes with everything you need. You have your initial towel and you have your buffing towel, your final wipe towel. This is a little bit more lower pile and a much more plush, kind of looser microfiber finishing towel, okay? You got both of these. Then, on top of that, you've got your actual applicator pads, and so basically the way this is gonna work is I'm gonna take a tiny little applicator pad. It kind of looks like a facial, kind of makeup pad, or like when you wash your face, you might use one of these, right? I'll take a little bit of the ZR53 of the ceramic coating, and I'll do like probably like 3 drops, okay? Like very, very little ceramic coating. Generally you put it in the center here. And what I'm gonna do is apply it like this. All right, I'll probably make a little, like an N or an M, okay? So that I have it spread across about, you know, I'm probably gonna split the hood probably into 3 sections, so thirds here, all right? Generally, you wanna do maybe around a 2x2 section. You don't have to if you've done it a while, or if you know what you're doing, you can do maybe a little bit more. But again, you're just trying to stay safe, not do a ton of space at one single time. So I'll probably, again, cut the hood into thirds. Apply it here, make an N. I'm then going to take the applicator pad and almost layer it, like if you've ever mowed the yard, when you turn around to do another line in the grass, you put the one wheel kind of on the part that you've already cut, and then the rest of it over the part that you're cutting. That's probably a bad analogy, but you guys kind of understand what I'm saying. After I make the little N or the little W or the M, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to kind of overlap lines just like this until I cover the entire section I'm doing, and then I'm going to go side to side so it's kind of a crosshatch pattern, okay? Then after I do that, I'm going to take my initial buffing towel, buff it off, then I'm going to take my final buffing towel and buff off the kind of final part of this coating, okay? Now, the reason you want to do a crosshatch pattern is because if you don't, you're trying to get the coating to be as even and level as possible. If you don't really level it, you're going to get what you call high spots, okay? High spots are places that are exactly what they sound like. So the coating, again, is going to dry on the paint and cause like basically a glass barrier is a good way to think about it. Silicon dioxide, that's what glass is made of, right? So this thin glass layer, sometimes if you get it uneven, if you could look at it from a microscopic side view, you'd see like little hills. Those hills are the high spots, and you're gonna see that in the sun. You're gonna see that it might even cast a shadow on the paint if it's really bad, things like that, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and do this without speeding it up so you guys can see the initial application. Of course, I'll speed up, you know, the rest of the car, but I'll shake up the coating just because. Now you wanna be very careful to always put the top back on, because coming from experience, if you ever knock this over with your heel or something and the top is not on it, you are in for a pretty rough day, okay? I'm gonna shake up the coating. I'm gonna do exactly what I just said and open it up here. Now generally some ceramic coatings have like a drip top that it's, you know, it'll like cause one drip to come out at a time. This one's totally open. So basically what I'm gonna do here is like hydrogen peroxide. I'm gonna put my applicator pad on top, dump the top over, and get a little bit in the center there and apply it just like I described. So here it goes. I'm gonna go ahead, again, dump it just like that. That's all I need. Don't get a ton on the applicator, okay? You don't want to do that. All right, so you guys see what I just did here? Now, if you can tell, I'm kind of moving fast. Hopefully you guys can see that and maybe sense the urgency in my voice a little bit. A ceramic coating is something that you do not want to waste time with, okay? Now, I'm in a cool environment. It's like 65 degrees outside. I'm in the garage. I'm in the shade. I pulled the garage door down so that I would be in the shade, and I would not apply this in like a you know, warm temperature, I don't know, environment. And again, you guys can probably sense in my voice, it's a little hard for me to do this and talk at the same time. It's kind of an intense process, and generally I'm extremely focused while I'm doing this. So you don't want to mess this up is basically what I'm trying to say. So you guys see the crosshatch pattern. Now as soon as I am done here, okay, I've hit this whole area here. I'm gonna put my applicator down. I'm gonna take my initial buffing towel. I'm gonna fold it like this. I'm gonna let this sit for just a second, okay? And now, again, these Nasiol coatings, generally you let them sit for like 30 seconds. Okay, now I'm buffing it off. Now this specific one is a bit easier to apply and buff off than some of their other ones. They have some more professional grade ones that are a bit more, gosh, I don't know what the right word to use would be. They're a bit, they just require a bit more know-how, I guess is what I would say. All right, now I'm gonna take my final buffing towel, take the tag off. Probably should have done that before. And again, fold it into fourths. I'm gonna buff it just like this. And I am using a pretty good amount of downward pressure, okay? So if you're wondering, whoops, I am pushing down, if you can't hear it in my voice, because sometimes these Nasiol coatings in particular are a little bit more finicky, okay? So while I love them and I really believe in them actually, particularly with the durability wise, they are, I don't know if that makes sense, they can be a little finicky. So I'm gonna flip my towel over, just trying to let you guys see this entire process here. Okay, I'm gonna take my Buff Bright Light and I'm just gonna kinda look at it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring you guys in here. Now, I only applied it to this panel right here. It's not been applied to the rest of the hood. Now, you're not really gonna be able to see anything like of particular importance here. I just want you guys to see that you're not, now, again, you guys can see some imperfections in the paint, right? This is the hood. Again, though we, paint corrected some things, it's not perfect. That's not the goal here. We just wanna get it as perfect as we can for a daily driver, and we're putting a coating on it. Now, you guys see, like, there's no streaking, okay? This is kind of hard for me to explain because I actually had a guy sort of train me on how to apply ceramic coatings depending on different companies, and I practiced a lot. I would encourage you guys, before you ever decide to actually apply one of these, to get, I don't know, do some deep research, to get some training. All of these coatings tend to react pretty differently, but again, I just kind of want to show you how, you see how difficult it even is to tell where the coating is? Even under good lighting, it's difficult to see where it is and where it isn't. And so that's just another kind of challenge that comes up in these ceramic coatings. This particular one lasts about 3 years, is its maximum. And so let's go ahead and apply some more to it and talk a little bit more in detail. All right, so I am gonna use the same applicator. Generally, with something like this, you're only gonna use this applicator like twice, okay? I would not encourage you guys to use it more than about 2 times. Again, I'm gonna make my sort of W shape here, all right? And then I'm coming in back and forth, overlapping sections, making sure that I touch every single area of the paint. Now, this is actually a pretty good ceramic coating to start with, if you ask me. The ZR53 by Nasiol is a bit less finicky than others, okay? I know finicky is not a very descriptive word. It's just hard for me to describe exactly what I mean if you've never experienced it. Now, people say, how do you know when to take it off? Well, the directions probably say take it off immediately. A lot of ceramic coatings say take it off pretty much immediately. I believe these do as well. When you apply them more and more, you'll find they'll start to like bubble, or that's probably not a very good word. They'll start to bubble, they'll start to haze, they'll start to rainbow sort of. And that's a good kind of indication that it's time to take it off. But again, you guys see me doing this here, how I'm just being very slow, applying even pressure. And I'm gonna go a little bit faster, going side to side here, but again, I'm just evening out the coating, I'm gonna let it sit for just a second on the paint. And again, the more you do this, the more you kind of start to see how these ceramics work. And again, I'm not panicking, letting it sit for a second. It'll start to form these tiny little bubbles, you'll see. Or even start to kind of haze up. You'll see these streaky, kind of stringy lines almost. All right, now, again, I'm taking my buffing towel and I'm just buffing in circular motions here. All right. Yes, it's gonna overlap onto the area that I already did. Okay, that's expected. The coating will definitely overlap. Okay, circular motions. I'm gonna flip the buffing towel over, buff some more. Now you may want to have some extra microfibers with you in this because the 2 that it comes with may or may not be enough for you. But again, I don't know, you just kind of have to see the way you work and how much you're applying. Now the directions actually for this one do tell you to, what do they say? They do tell you to, sorry, I'm getting winded. They tell you to tip the bottle over, you know, like 2 to 3 to 4 times onto the applicator pad to get enough product. You really do not need to do that. That's just, I don't know, that's kind of being a little generous if you ask me. You guys can see how much I'm buffing this off. As I'm buffing it off, I'm kind of changing my angles as I'm looking at the paint, getting some different lighting angles, and you guys see how kind of long this is taking to buff off. These coatings streak very, very easily. When you get into more professional grade coatings, it's just easy to have them streak, and if you're not bending down, looking from different angles, seeing, really being tedious, conscientious about what you're doing, it's very easy to mess up, and you're gonna miss something, and you're not gonna see it until the customer pulls their car out in the sun. So that's why I'm being so kind of obnoxious with this buffing, because you might have to buff something 1,000 times before it really starts to blend. So I'm getting some really good slickness here, really good slickness. And again, just really trying to get all this off. Now, once again, I take in my light. I just make sure that I can see everything. It's looking good so far. I make sure I don't have to kind of change up my strategy here. Again, there's a huge element of just seeing what the difference between imperfections that are already in the paint and, you know, when you're coating a car that's driven on a daily basis, there's a whole new set of challenges where there's all these imperfections in the paint already. You can only correct a certain amount of them, and so you have to decipher between, oh wait, am I applying it wrong? Is that an imperfection issue that was already there? And everything so far looks really good. You really need to have some good lighting as you're doing this. Again, hopefully I'm emphasizing that enough. I'm gonna go ahead and apply the ceramic coating to the rest of the car. This particular coating can be applied to black trim, plastic, wheels, as well as the paint. I'm just gonna be applying it to the paint, and I'm gonna be applying something different to the windows, and I'm not gonna put it on the wheels. That's not what this situation is, and so this is just strictly going on the paint, and I'm gonna go ahead and speed up the rest of this, and then we'll come in afterwards and see what the finished product looks like. Okie doke, so the ceramic coating on the paint is totally done and the sun is going down, so I'm actually going to put a ceramic on the windshield, and I just wanted to go ahead and show the paint because the sun is going down and I wanted to make sure I got some good shots of it here. So I'm going to finish the tires and the wheels as well, but again, this is start to finish application of a full ceramic coating. So let me walk around the car kind of in a general sense so you guys can see. While it's, you know, mostly in the shade here now, you can still see that the paint looks really, really, really good. And of course it does, right? I mean, it was polished and now it's got a coating on it. So here we go. Alrighty, I'll stand back here as well. And there you go. I'm gonna let the paint sit inside. So I'm not gonna drive this car, I'm not gonna wash this car for about 48 hours. So it's just gonna sit in the garage for about 48 hours. And that's gonna give it time enough to cure and all that good stuff. So I wanna get in here kind of closer so you can see that there aren't any high spots, there aren't any streaks, there aren't any of those things, right? And I followed with a light as I did this. Again, didn't really film that part, but you guys can see that even in the little bit of sun that's still out, there are no high spots, there are no streaking, there isn't any stringy, looking, chemical left over or rainbowing effect. All that stuff is totally buffed off. And hopefully you guys kind of understood from the first kind of few times of applying it how that works. But it does leave the paint just looking fantastic. Now, this was an all-day job, so it is quite a commitment, but it comes out with awesome results. Again, this is about a 3-year coating, so I am gonna be maintaining it. That's where these ceramic sprays in the industry really come in a good way, because things like Meguiar's hybrid ceramic spray wax or Adams ceramic spray can be a great sort of protection over the coating after you wash it and you're maintaining it. Those ceramic sprays are great, rather than a wax or a sealant. You can use something that is a bit similar to the coating that's already on it. So that is what it looks like, and that is the application of a ceramic coating from start to finish. So that's the full process from start to finish, from literally like starting with the dirty car to finishing with a totally coated, ceramic coated car. So everything I used in this video, I used a ton of products, a ton of tools, like all sorts of different things, from polishes to foam cannons to ceramic coatings. I'm gonna hook up links to all of those things in the YouTube description box below this video. There'll be a huge list of everything I used in this video. If you wanna check out any of those tools or products, definitely use the Amazon links. It does give this channel, if you buy, a small commission, but it helps this channel stay alive so I can keep giving out content just like this. Let me know in the comment section below if this video was of value to you. I know ceramic coatings are complicated, and in the detailing world we tend to oversimplify things that should probably be a little bit more complicated, and we overcomplicate things that are a bit more simple. And so ceramic coatings are one of those things where when I've watched videos, sometimes they're a little bit oversimplified, and so hopefully in this video you could understand and see kind of the complexity behind applying these, and even the skill level that you might need to have. And I definitely suggest practicing on family, friends, cars, all that sort of stuff before you actually do this on a customer's car. But again, it can be done, and I even think you can even teach yourself through videos like this. But again, practicing on family members' cars, friends' cars, all that stuff is going to be definitely very helpful. If you're a professional auto detailer or a car enthusiast and you love everything auto detailing, then definitely consider subscribing here to the channel. And as always, from Luke here at Wilson Auto Detailing, keep working hard, and I will see you guys in the next video.